Hi guys, I'm Ben and welcome to the fourth episode of the Sauropod Studio video podcast. So, as you may have noticed below on the progression bar, we have a pretty lengthy episode for you today. We're very excited to show you guys what we've been up to here. So, without further ado, introducing the Big Island project.
This is the map that the players are currently using. That was shipped with the prototype a year and a half ago. And so this is a kind of a top view of the island. It's actually a a data file which contains all the data to recreate the island in the game, which is a representation in a texture of the same data that you're used to if you've been curious enough to go in the save game folders. So all the data that's normally here, sorry for that, all these little files, which are binary, they contain 4 bytes per column, and we've just encoded them into a texture. So it gives you an idea, a top view of the island, what the proportions are, and how many voxels are active in that island. So this one is the prototype island, and it's fairly it's medium size. When you play in it, you have enough space to explore a little bit, and I've yet to see anyone like fill it with a castle, but still, or dig it entirely. Still, this is the cinematic island which we used for the prototype. Sorry, for the trailer for the Kickstarter. Yeah. So we had a bigger castle. We had a number of good camera pans and animations and stuff like that happening all in that island.
But this one is not in the game presently. It cannot be run on the game.
Well, it works. The game supports it correctly. It's just it renders it a little slow. It's already starting to show in the game that this island is a little too big. So on our very powerful machines here, it works correctly, and we use it internally to test the kind of if it doesn't work on that island, it's a sign that it won't work on the prototype island on the poorer machines that some people might have. So so this is kind of our benchmarking standard.
But what's the next step?
Yeah, exactly. So it's still a little small because it doesn't really fill the space. Yeah. This is a 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, so 1,000. So it's a square kilometer of island, and it only kind of fills a smaller portion of it. So we wanted to go a little further and a little deeper, just to see the limits of the system, and also to proof of concept our level of detail, new level of detail system. So this is what you just saw. Okay. So this is the kind of if I go back there, this island, it's so let me navigate a little bit. Okay, so this island here is the one you saw just then, and it's a square kilometer, about a square kilometer. Okay, so well, you may notice that it's not actually the game that I'm showing right now. There's kind of we added some fog, and this skybox is just a it's one that comes with Unity, and it's not ours. And anyway, so this island is a square kilometer of area, or about so, and that's kind of, I think it's 10 times more approximately than this, or no, it's 6 times more, I think, than the cinematic island, and it's like 20 times more than the
from the current map.
Yeah, the one that the players are using currently. So this is 1.5 million voxels that are showing. Actually, it's not 1.5 million because level of detail. So the further the voxels are, the farther the voxels are, the more merged they are. So at the moment, it's so you can see here it's 2.4 million triangles. And if I was having the full resolution, so let me just show you for. So we have a number of range parameters for our level of detail, and if I play with them, so I can play with the range limits, and I can have the full resolution for the whole island. So you see it's 8.2 million at the moment, 16.5 million vertices, which is a lot. And the game at the moment, when it shows the full resolution, on our good computers, it's still able to handle it. So it's about 100 frames per second right now, while I'm not doing anything. There's no breaktrons, there's no nothing.
There's no castle or trees.
Castle, and the camera is kind of So there are some hidden areas, like some occlusion happening. So it might become even like heavier eventually, but that's like essentially the full resolution. And if I was to bring it down, you can already see the frame rate going up, and visually you can kind of still appreciate the island at this distance. Well, let's say one of the other kind of good parameters to set is like this. Just a second. So this is kind of a lower standard for the quality. It renders at 2.5 the speed, and when I go close to the island, it will still load the full resolution. So it won't really ruin my experience playing the game or anything. It's just that you can show the terrain. You can see the terrain kind of.
It will be more seamless in the.
Oh yeah, sure. This is just a proof of concept for the level of detail system.
So that's cinematic island.
Yeah, actually you're a pretty good observer. Yeah, you're right. This is so we kind of downloaded a height map from the internet to generate this island. It's not it was not human made. It's just kind of a computer generated, like just for our testing purposes, and we just copy pasted the cinematic island in the top corner.
Still look good though.
Well, yeah, it looks like the cinematic island. There's some bugs still, like the shadows or stuff like that. To better show the proportions, I've prepared a little setup. So let's activate it. Okay. So since I'm just in a testing environment, the Brictrons don't have names. So sorry for that. Let's say, well, let's call him Tao or something. So he's looking at the scenery, and he has a big mountain blocking him. But anyway, he's still having a great time. Kind of in the middle of the Grand Canyon here. And what's interesting is that he can see one of his friends there, and that friend is just on the side of a big teapot. And this is just to give you a sense of the proportions. Yeah. This teapot is 10 by 10 by 10 meters or so. And the Brictrons are usually, we say they're kind of human size, so it gives you an idea. And then you have another Brictron here looking at the scenery. And what you can really see is that if you only look at the island, it's kind of easy to forget that this island is really big. It's a square kilometer. Yeah. But when you look at the Brictrons on it, then you get a feeling that, this Brictron here, which we were at just a second ago, he's really small. He's like 3 pixels high or so. And so, and from here to there, we're not even done. We're just halfway through. Not even halfway through, I think. If I was to go up and just keep your eye on this peak there. Okay, it's still here. So you see the full scale of the island. We have one Brictron here, one there. Is it there? Yeah, he's there, just there. Okay, so it's kind of halfway through. Anyway, it gives you an idea, and this island runs pretty smoothly. It's 200 frames per second right now, and I'm still at a relatively high-end quality setting. Okay, so this is just a testing environment. When it's integrated in the game and it's shipped to you eventually, obviously there's going to be trees. We have to support castles. It has to be dynamically deformable, which I haven't shown you. The game has been limited to relatively small islands for a while, and some people also have problems because their island, even though it's small, it still creates a lag when they try to draw it on their kind of poorer quality of computers. So that's one of the things we wanted to get rid of. So the Big Island feature is based on an improved level of detail system. So the new level of detail system works by merging smaller voxels into bigger ones and trying to conserve the general impression of the island. So if we have more grass textures, we want to have a bigger voxel in grass. And if there's more dirt or sand or stuff like that, we want the bigger voxel to be in sand.
So you've been working on a new system so you can incorporate bigger island. With the present system, it's not possible? Is it too much, I don't know, demanding on the memory or on the computer?
Yes, actually, the we have a number of problems. So let's say we have the island that we're showing right now. It's 1.5 million voxels. So if we render all the voxels at their full resolution, it takes, I believe, it's 25 million vertices and 15 million triangles or so. And well, this requires a lot of memory, and also, like, if it was just about the meshes, it would require a lot of memory, but also the game currently, it tries to save all the information it requires to render the island inside, and it tries to keep it for further rendering. The mesh structure is heavy, but also the data structures that are there to regenerate the meshes are very heavy. So one of the constraints of the new system is to reduce the memory footprint of the storage for the rendering, and also for to reduce the number of triangles and vertices for the rendering. Even if the game was able to render the island in terms of memory, it would also become very slow if we didn't do anything about the number of draw calls. So one of the things is Unity handles the rendering for us, and it does a relatively good job, but it's kind of a general purpose engine, so it doesn't really know that we need that many voxels, and it cannot really do much optimizations for us because in contrast with some other games where the terrain is predetermined, our game has a deformable terrain dynamically, so there's not that much that Unity can do to pre-optimize its like occlusions and the level of detailed mechanics and stuff like that. What we try to do is we try to have as few meshes as possible with the constraint that Unity only allows for 65 vertices per mesh. We want to kind of work with Unity and our own kind of batching before Unity tries to do it itself to reduce the number of draw calls. So this island here, if I was to stop it and reload it, you can see it will take I think 10 seconds or so to be fully loaded because it has to regenerate the whole, like all of the meshes. And those meshes are, like I said, it's 1.5 million voxels. So it's a lot. So that now it's loaded and everything is happy. But if I find that this is too long, we're testing with a number of other options. Like I can deactivate the immediate mode and I can go into progressive. Yeah. So let's click like this. So now it's kind of going faster. So if I was to regenerate it, for example, so it gives you an idea. So this is a kind of a big island to show in a half a second. But once it's shown, it develops into more detailed meshes when you go close, and it calculates the meshes. Well, it starts with the coarser ones, and it goes into finer ones. So anyway,
that's the thing you've been testing now for the ship version.
We're testing a number of things before we're ready to ship it, so this also the system of level of detail has some cool advantages also, which is, so if I was to clear this, okay, and if I was to just render the third level of detail, so this is pretty instantaneous, okay. So this is from nothing, okay, from absolutely nothing. I can regenerate the whole thing in I think it's a tenth of a second. Okay, so what this gives us is that we can generate previews for the island, and we can have those kind of level of detail formats on the horizon for the farther islands. So it really comes free to us now, since we have the merged voxels. We can play with them and we can use them to generate previews and to get really like effects for far away and stuff like that. So if I was to load the cinematic island, for example, so I've been using the kind of the height map island for a while, and just to show you that the game doesn't really cheat with pre-calculated stuff, I'm just going to change the island. So if I go on like this and clear this and render the other one.
Wow.
So you see? Well, this is for the third level of detail. But if I was to render the full one, so this is the...
About 10 seconds.
No, it's done right now. Oh, okay, but it still seems to be because I've played through another option. So let's clear this and let's fully load it like this. Okay, so this is now showing. Now I've activated. I told my island to go progressively. If I tell the island to go immediately, now it's gonna take
2 more seconds.
So like this. So if you wanna, let's try this again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 seconds or so. So obviously those are tweakable parameters that we're going to play with, and obviously this is still a work in progress. But we really believe, or I really believe actually, that it's going to make a huge difference in the game, and we can really scale our game up with that. So we just have a few things to get rid of and a few tests to still do. And also this system kind of changes the whole way that the game is going to treat its internal data. So there's a lot of subsystems that are going to be require to be adapted. Yeah. So for example, the characters, the intelligence for the pathfinding and stuff like that are currently getting reworked, and they have to be reworked with this in mind. Okay. That you know, if you're a character which is not standing on the main part of the island, if you're very far away, you might not have access to you might not have instantaneous access to the very fine-grained voxels around you. So you have to have asynchronous requests to the voxel server of the game, if you will.
As always, if you have questions on what you just saw, you can contact us on our forums, on Steam, on Twitter and Facebook. Until next time, I'm Ben.